good evening, Unique Couples community. We are Vito and Linda Patrick. Just want to say a happy new year. Want to welcome you to Unique Couples Sunday Night Live.
Oh, yes.
This is our first Sunday Night Live for the year, and we are fired up. We are excited about this evening because we have special guests in the house this evening, and we're going to be in for a great time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
go ahead and type in hashtag live squad. For those of you that'll be watching the replay, go ahead and type in hashtag replay. Go ahead and share. Go ahead and like and invite some friends. Let them know we are on. Let them know we are talking about top 5 mistakes you don't want to make
Oh,
in your
no.
marriage in 2023. So go ahead and let a couple know. Those who are engaged, let them know. Those who are dating, let them know. You don't want to miss it. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the Unique Couples YouTube channel, you want to go ahead and subscribe to the Unique Couples YouTube channel and make sure to turn on that notification bell so you can be notified every time we go live here at Unique Couples.
Yes. And if you have questions during the show, hold on. Did we say our names? Did we?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, we
Okay.
did say.
Yes. And if you have questions during the show, let us know. Type your questions in the comments, in the chat. And we want to see who is here. So let us know where you're watching from, where you're joining us from. Go ahead and put that in the comments. Go and put that in the comments. And then we want to know, hey, have you ever made a mistake? Yes. Yes or no? Put that in the comments. We are glad to see Veronica is on live and ready. And Debbie, thanks for joining us. Julie and Sonia, they are all saying all sorts of things. Hello. Oh, yes, Georgia is
Georgia
in
is
the
in the house.
house. Yes.
Yeah.
We're almost in every state of the United States, and we are looking at being in every country around the world. So you guys are going to help us make that possible. So go ahead, put your countries in. We want to have you listed. Put your islands. The 242 is here. Put your island of the Bahamas that you're watching from and joining us. Live squad. I see our live squad is here. And for those of you who watch the replay, we still want to hear your questions. Go ahead and put that in. We will get to it. Thanks for joining us, Lynn, as well.
Yes. And like I said, we have special guests in the house who who will be speaking with us this evening, and we are just excited and fired up for them to be here. We have Pastor Eric and Mistress Patrice Clark, who is with us this evening. Hello, Pastor Clark. Hello, Sister Patrice. How are you guys?
Good evening. We're doing great.
Thank you
Awesome.
for the invite. It's just a joy to be with you both. We try to get it as often as we could. We don't get it as much as we'd like to, but we're just beyond excited to be here with you guys this evening. So thank you for the invite, and we look forward to sharing together.
Awesome, awesome. So there you have it. Family Life Directors of the North Bahamas Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. They are helping families and on Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, and the Berry Islands. And I know they have worked with families and couples throughout the Bahamas as well. And so we're excited to have Pastor Clark and the lovely Patrice here with us tonight. So those of you who have questions, like we said, put your questions, your comments in the chat. Show them some love. On a different platform. For those of you on Facebook, go ahead and do that. Joining us on YouTube or Twitter or wherever you are joining us, go ahead and show them some love and your questions. If you've ever made a mistake, anytime or in your life, in your marriage, or at all, the feelings that you get with that, right? And so tonight we want to talk about, hey, those mistakes that you don't want to make, because they could either break or make your relationship. So those mistakes you don't want to make in 2023. And so we just want Pastor Clark and Sister Patrice to share with us a little about themselves, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I should ask
What? Okay.
Sister Patrice, maybe to start out. Can you just tell our audience a little about the Clarks? How did you meet? When did you get married? Where are you
Yes.
from? And what you do for a living?
I see.
Okay. So my name is Patrice Clark. I am from the island of New Providence. I met Pastor Eric Clarke in the Bahamas, in Nassau, at a crusade. Well, actually, just before that, because he was the intern at my church, the Centerville Church. And we met. Well, we started talking through a crusade in 1983, it was. We got married in 1985. And so that makes, 37 years? 37 going on 38. I am a registered midwife and a nursing officer with the Grand Bahama Health Services. And I work at the Paris Plaza. We have 3 children, 3 adult children, and 2 of them are married, and 4 grandchildren.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's just a special ring, like when you say the grandchildren, there's like a special ring, you know?
Yes. Yeah, it's a little different. I think they soften you up a bit.
Yeah. He was just gazing at you. Like taking it all in. Yeah, he was just taking it all in.
So you want to tell them who you are?
Well, you can let them take the lead.
Go ahead.
I want to say good evening to everybody. I just want you to know that it's really, really a joy and a privilege for us to be together with Vito and Linda, and to all of you who are online. I've had the wonderful opportunity to be involved in ministry for about 40 years, man. And I wonder where's all the time gone. And I have this beautiful, concept where while I was preaching, Patrice had her eye on me, and I believe she volunteered to sing a song one night. His eye is on the sparrow. And from the time she sang that song, of course, the message and meaning is that she was watching me. His eye is on the sparrow, right? And that just did it for me. So it was over, right? And I decided that, yes, I got the message. But on a different note, we've been having a great time. I remember the first time that she and I went on a date. She decided to wear a yellow T-shirt, and there were some words on it. It says "Wildflower," and I'm saying, this saintly sister, come on a date with me. She trying to mess my whole day up. Wildflower. So I'm like, okay, you know. But I did not get to do anything for quite a while. Then afterwards, she allowed me to smooch her in the process of time, you know. But I just totally enjoyed dating her for 2 years. It was 2 years that seemed like 2 weeks, 2 months, and it really, really was beautiful. And I really love all of the things that we did before, and I thank God for this opportunity. So 37 years later, I'm happy that she is still following the disobedience to her mom, who told her, lighten up her drinking in the cup, right? Put some coffee in
some milk in
your coffee. Yes, that's what her mom told her. And she disobeyed her mother, a godly woman. She disobeyed her mother. And so I'm just grateful, and I'm here to share the blessings.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So we're talking about the top 5 mistakes, right? You don't want to make in your marriage, and we're talking about 2023 and beyond and stuff like that. So before we get into that, and we know we want you guys to share on those top 5. Has there ever been a mistake that you're like, oh geez, well, I shouldn't have done that? Any of you like, yeah, that's a mistake I shouldn't have made over your 37 years?
That's a little while, man. That's a little while. Yep. Yeah. She's really thinking hard.
Uh,
Well, that's good. Like, we don't have to make mistakes. We don't have to make mistakes, and then we don't have to remember them either. Because sometimes we get to the point where we're always remembering and we're always bringing it up and hashing it out, to our spouse. You did this and you did that. But sometimes it's just good to kind of like, it happened, release it, and move on. So you can share with us later if you remember any.
Let me just say this then. One of the things that I regret, and it's general and yet specific, I wished I'd listened to her more often. And I say this all the time. If I had listened to Patrice more as husband and wife, as a couple, I would not have caught the hell I catch in marriage, right? And that's what I say. In other words, we try to figure out people. And I've learned a long time ago that you don't figure them out, Vito. You figure them in, And most times we think that we could make the decisions. I'm the man. I've got the last word, and all of these other macho things that you hear around, and you realize, boy, that's in a book. That ain't reality. You know what I'm saying? So really, really, if I sat down and looked back, every time I messed up, it was because I was not listening to her. And that for me says a whole lot. All right.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah. So you heard it. Men, you heard it. Ladies, you heard it. Listen to each other more, right?
Yes. And
I think sometimes for me it was possibly taking one another for granted. Where you go ahead and do some things and don't involve the other person, so that is one thing that I could think about.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So our viewing audience, you want to go ahead. If you have any questions, put those questions in the chat, and then you want to make sure you listen carefully, because there may be a takeaway that you want to make note of. So make sure you get that takeaway as well. So Pastor Clarke, can you go ahead and tell us, start out with the top 5 mistakes couples don't want to make in their marriage in 2023? Give us your first 2.
Yeah, let me begin this way, and I can't help myself by beginning with the spiritual. Okay, I think that the top mistakes that couples make is that they leave God out of their marriage, right? They don't realize the significance and the importance of God in their relationship. Listen, man, God is the center, and he is the provider, and he is the solution, and he is the answer for every situation that you're going through and you will go through in your relationship. The truth be told, we don't see eye to eye on everything. I think we all have to come to grips with that, right? And marriage is spiritual. And because marriage is spiritual, it means that there has to be a God element in the whole relationship. All right. There are times when Patrice will not see eye to eye with me, and vice versa. There are times when the both of us may need a cooler, and that cooler means that she ain't hearing me and I ain't hearing her. Who do you turn to? Ghostbusters? No, we have to have God. And then when we factor God in, what we ask then is that if there is a time when we disagree with each other, we must have a cooling off period, right? We must have time just to be able to pause, to stop and everything. And we're going to talk about that a little later on, right? But the idea is that really you have to have God in it, because marriage is a spiritual. And without the spiritual, I guarantee you it is difficult to survive successfully in a relationship. Reason being, there are principles, isn't it? Right?
So there are principles normally, and you wouldn't get those principles if you leave God out. And that spiritual connection, because for one, you need to have your devotions together at home, and you need to worship God together. And during your devotion, and this is together as well as your personal devotions, You get to read and study the word, and in the word you learn, and it teaches you things of how and what you need to do in your marriage, and how you are to act and how you are to behave. And as God changes you, because sometimes a lot of times in marriage, you need to pray. You need to pray to God for decisions you need to make, for one, and then you need to pray if you have different arguments or whatever. And sometimes it is you pray for your spouse, what you think is wrong with them, and the Lord and the Holy Spirit changes you as you work on your devotional life and your spiritual life and studying the word. The Spirit changes you, and if you don't have God in it, you don't get that change. You don't get that change and know what you need to do.
So what helps me in that respect is, and that's why we say that we can't afford to leave God out of it, because there are secular concepts. There's a secular and civil portion to marriage, right? And if you are not having God in that aspect, one of the power things for me is to hear her praying for me in the mornings, for me to pray for her, and we are praying for each other. What that does is all of us have temptations, right? Different ways, different magnitudes, etc., levels, and it's difficult to pray for your spouse in the morning in your devotions as a couple, as a family, and then go and mess around during the day. So when she hears me praying for her and keeping her and covering her, right, man, I think that protects her. That's a hedge. When I hear her praying for me, I don't care how the devil in hell tries. And you want to be careful how you fly up in the devil's face. But those that are on our side are more than those that are on their side, right? That means that I am covered, I am shielded, I am protected, because this lady who is my partner, my ride or die, she just finished praying for me, man. So for me, that's powerful. And that's why I say you cannot leave God out of the picture. That's our first take. Go ahead.
The other thing is that God is love. You can't successfully love one another unless you have God. Because God is the person who first is love and who gives real love, not lust, but love. Some people get married for different reasons, because I don't want to be single, because I want a partner. But
I want somebody to cook. Yeah, there's some people that get married for that.
So God is love. He's the one who shows us what real love is.
Thank you. So that's the first one, Linda and Vito. And if there anybody who has any questions or anything like that, we'd be happy to relate to it. The second one we want to put out there with regards to what we think is one of the big mistakes that couples make, it is taking each other for granted. It is the disrespect that kind of creeps in, not up in your face, but over a period of time, possibly, right? And again, the spiritual helps with this also, but we cannot take each other for granted. One of the things we talk about sometimes is like, if I don't need you, then why did we get married? Secondly, as we relate to this whole matter, you'll discover that, boy, I don't want my wife to be locking the doors, etc., at night when we turn in, right? She can, and it's not a problem. But I want to be the man to lock my house. I want to be able to say my family is safe, right? That kind of thing like that. But just taking each other for granted, go ahead.
So in taking one another for granted, first of all, I think we need to realize that we're a team. We're a team. Yes. We're on the same team. And so we shouldn't be selfish and thinking about ourselves and wanting everything to go our way. If we wanted that, then we should stay single, I'm thinking. So we need to, for one, know one another's moves, we need to factor each other out in our decision making and not take things on and he doesn't know about it. So we need to be open and honest with everything. We need to look out for the best for one another. And we need to make sure that we know like his and her needs. Those are different. His needs, her needs. Those are some things. Like number one for the man is sex. Number one for the woman is affection. But those are some of the things, and we need to put our partner first after God, and not the children. Sometimes we take our spouse for granted, and we might have the child even uppermost, and share all our ideas and everything with the children. But also in being respectful, we need to be respectful to one another and show respect by including one another in everything, showing love and courtesy, and not throwing insults and past errors in one another's face. Those are some of the things when we take one another for granted. And this is another one. Sometimes we and taking one another for granted, we don't dress anymore or go to bed looking pop down, that kind of way. We go out. When we going out, we look our best, but around the house, you look all shabby, So that is another way we take one another for granted.
Can I just add very quickly that one of the things that we are big on is what is called premarital counseling. And there's also postmarital counseling. And what that helps any couple with, premarital especially, is to be able to cover some basic principles, guidelines, understanding of each other before one jumps into all of it and says yes and gets married. And so I want to just send a word out there to somebody also who may not be married and say, listen, man, before you get married, do a little bit of premarital counseling. When you first meet somebody that you are serious with, or you think you can get serious with them, check it out with somebody else, right? Ask questions, right? So here's the point now. In order not to take people for granted, what we want to do is ensure that we study each other. And in studying each other, we need to be aware of human needs. We need to be aware of the makeup of individuals. Patrice mentioned some things just now. You need to know the temperaments of people. And you need to understand what is it that makes a woman and a man. We have to look at all of it and say, I love you enough to study you. I love you enough to prepare for you. Because sometimes you wonder what in the world these folk talked about when you ask them some basic questions and they don't know it about each other. Listen, you cannot take people for granted. You have to. I have to read, I have to study her, I have to know what her likes and dislikes and needs, all the rest of it. We have to, all right? Don't take people for granted. That's one of the big mistakes that folk make.
What I left out, even for taking others for granted, sometimes we have friends and we need to put those friends in their place. Sometimes we have third party or whatever. It's okay to have friends, but then the friends go so far and you don't spend all your time with your friends because you are married to your best friend. That's right. So
should be.
Yeah, you should be married to your best friend. Team. We on the same team, so we supposed to be having the same kind of goals. Okay.
Yes, definitely. So, viewing audience, that was a lot of nuggets that Sister Patrice just mentioned. So, I hope you're taking your notes. I hope you're getting your pointers, and make sure you have your takeaways because, like she said, you don't want to be looking shabby. You don't want to be popped down. Just some of the points.
Y'all hitting the females hard.
That's some of the points she was mentioning. Mind you, it's also for the men as well, because men, you don't want to be, you don't want to be looking pop down as well, because men can look pop down as well, and that can turn their wife off. So men, we also have to keep our look as well, keep our macho masculine look, because that's what the ladies love. And for our viewing audience, you want to make sure, if you are not a part of the Unique Couples Marriage Club, you want to become a part of the marriage club, because at the Unique Couples Marriage Club, you get your spouseology degree. And this is where you are learning your spouse, because number 2 says you don't want to take your spouse for granted.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you are a part of the Unique Couples Marriage Club.
And it's not a one-time thing where you just know this and then that's it, because we change and grow over time. Because I'm sure who you are now, the Clarks, who you are now, is different from who you were 37 years ago. So we change over time, and that's with everything. So we have to constantly be learning about each other as couples and not take each other for granted. So definitely love that. I see Freeport Properties says no I and Tim. Thanks for joining us, Rowena. You finally caught us live, right? That spicy look. And Debbie said, yes, awesome point, Sister Patrice. And Karen said, indeed, God is the center of the relationship, especially in marriage. Yes. So we're ready for what?
We're ready for number 3 and number 4.
3 and 4. Those of you who are watching, make sure you let us know your takeaways. Put them in the chat. Put your takeaways as you get them. Put them in the chat as you get them. And if you have any questions, we will take those at the end as well.
Thank you so much.
So number 3, we have that one mistake you should not make in your marriage is not to let an argument destroy your marriage.
That's important for us, because I started it earlier, where you're bound to have misunderstandings, disagreements, and all of those things like that, right? Into every relationship, some rain must fall. The fact of the matter is that when 2 persons become one, it's an operation that's overseen by God, but you have 2 different, distinct, developed individuals that are coming together to make a go of things. And people used to say, if you want to know me, come what? Come live with me. Yeah. So there will be misunderstandings. There will be disagreements. Truth is that no 2 people think alike on the same or on any subject all the time, right? So there has to be difference. If the 2 of us were identical in everything, there would be no need for one of us.
True.
Yeah. So yes, the challenges, the misunderstandings, the difficulties, they are not meant to be sleeping policemen in the road. They're not meant to be bumps. They're meant to be beautiful challenges that helps you to understand better your spouse, your mate, your significant other, so that you can live better in harmony and in peace. Yes, there will be the arguments. If a couple says that they have no arguments, or they don't have, and they never had, you know what's happening. They're telling you a fib. Yes, and don't believe it, right? So the relationships are not necessarily easy. Given now that there will be arguments, you and I have to put some things in place to relate to when there's an argument. And that's where I started off from earlier. What do we mean by that?
The Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Now, that could be challenging sometimes, especially if it's hot and it's in the night. But
sun already down.
The sun is already down. Yeah. So there needs to be some cooling off period. And I think what needs to happen before an argument is you need to decide what you're going to do when you have an argument. How much time you're going to cool off and then come back together. And what you don't want to do is attack one another. You want to attack what the problem is. Yeah. So you say, if he's dropping the clothes around, you don't say, I don't like how you just drop your clothes around.
Yes, and I do.
But you might want to say, okay, I feel like a maid having to pick up these things behind you. So that is the problem, you know. The problem is the clothes on the ground. So what are we going to do about these clothes? And
what I want to interject here is that you're talking about like I feel solutions, right?
yes.
Can I just ask you to come back in just a second? I just wanted to add that where we're at right now is that for the couple, sweetie, I wanted to just interject and mention that with the arguments or the disagreements, that cooling off time that Patrice mentioned, that is so important. And in deciding on that cooling off time, you can choose 15 minutes, you can choose a half hour, you can choose an hour, but both of you have to be agreed on how much time we're gonna have cooling off. Yeah. You don't want to say something that you regret. Am I right about that? Once your words have gone out, you can't take them back. Yeah. So what you want to do is you have to have some time that the both of you agree on, and you say that time must be before the argument. You don't agree with that in the argument because that's gonna still heighten the argument, right? So the time to cool off is when you just take a couple of minutes and say, let me just think this thing through. Let me just pray this through. I don't want to say anything that I regret. Let me see how I could work through myself. I may have, in other words, my tail might be between my legs right now, right? So let me just deal with this for the time being. Then now, after that 15 minutes or that half hour or that hour that you have both agreed on, you come back as matured individuals, right? To deal with whatever this problem is. When you deal with the problems, Patrice was just beginning to mention that you never attack one another. You say, this is how I feel about it. Most times you hear couples saying, boy, you make me so mad, right? You make me do this. You make me do the rest of it. Can we really make each other do that? No. It is the way we respond to some things, right? And we don't force people on how to respond. You could be married to the devil, and you've got to have such a connection with God. That's why it's spiritual. That, man, the devil must not be able to make you do anything. Sure. Right? So you see it, you take your cooling off time, and you say, okay, Jesus, work with me. Let me see this for what it really is, and if I am the enemy in the camp, if I am the devil, then please work on me. Somebody had that sign. You remember that marriage is the only place where you get to sleep with the enemy. Remember our neighbor used to have that sign, right? I don't understand that. I don't sleep with the enemy, and you don't sleep with the enemy, but that was the sticker on his vehicle, Marriage is the only place where we get to sleep with the enemy. Having said all of that now, Patrice was at a point where you were looking at what? You were saying solutions.
So you try to throw out some solutions about whatever the problem is, say, okay, yeah, you'll pick up the clothes after so much time, or whatever the solutions are. You make some solutions, I make some, and then we try them and see what works. What we're gonna come up with for whatever problem it is.
So let me tell you what my one is, right? I take off my clothes in the night and I don't hang up my clothes in the night. But I'll get up early in the morning and I'll hang up my clothes. Patrice is a neat freak. So before she goes to bed, everything has to be worked out in that closet, right? Hers is fixed and all that. I ain't like that, right? So it doesn't mean I'm dirty and nasty. Man, listen, I hang my clothes up that morning because in the night when I come, I feel I'm tired. I want to just hit the bed, right? We different. That's all right. But she doesn't have to tell me to take up my clothes in the morning. I will have that up and fixed even before she gets up. Here's the other thing that I said to her. I said, listen, man, when I was growing up in my parents' home, I said, boy, I never could have leave my clothes out like that. When something on the ground, you had to pick it up right away. I said, this your house and this my house. In my house, I want to leave my clothes on the ground till I'm ready to pick it up.
Oh, man.
Oh, dear. Trouble.
Pastor having fun. Number 4.
Yeah. Well, okay. So in the solution, right? So if we don't come to no kind of satisfaction with whatever the problem or the conflict is, we need to learn how to communicate effectively, learn communication skills. We need to learn about our different love languages and what makes us different,
Yes.
different temperaments, and all of this affects our relationship because there are differences. So I want you to look at love languages and temperaments and differences between females and males, and all of those affect your relationship, and it's able to help you to deal and tolerate your spouse even more when you understand what these different aspects are.
And we may not get to go into all of those in depth tonight. So we move on to number 4, which can even tie it in. And number 4 for us is really having unrealistic goals, expectations of each other. Yeah, that may not sound like much right now. It may not sound like all of that, but we've discovered that one of the things that drives people into separation is having unrealistic goals. Those goals can come up in the form of financial expectations, especially if they've not had premarital counseling, right? Those goals will demonstrate itself in the fact that they don't have a proper understanding of male-female differences, right? You would be amazed. A lot of the couples we talk to, they don't understand that women and men think differently. Their brain organized differently. Everything is different, right? So as a result, the men have expectations on the women that they should have on men or on themselves, and they have a way of putting that expectation on their spouse, right? It becomes unrealistic, you know?
So when you actually get married or wherever you are in your relationship, you should set goals for your marriage. What do you want to see? Where you want to go in this marriage? Whether you want to build or rent, whether you want to be cooking every day. Those some goals would cause a whole lot of problem. We have some men who want cook food every day.
And not food that's left over until the next day. Wow.
So we need to have the expectations as to who gonna pay the bills, whether we budget on both of our salaries, or whether it's gonna be your salary or my salary or whatever. Another expectation, some people they expect that there's gonna be sex every day, or whether it's 2 to 3 times a day.
Yeah, and I discovered that mothers have not taught their daughters how to relate to this, you know.
So you know, you have some really unrealistic. Some people have some unrealistic, and they think they come into a marriage believing that okay, you know, it's gonna be all rosy and everything is gonna go dead smooth.
That's right. Yeah. So these are just a part of it. Number 4, we just wanted to drop there. Let's sit down and let's look at our goals and our expectations, because most times you discover that, you know, let's take it, Sister Linda. If you were not prepared to cook every day, right? And you get married to this man and he says, man, I want food every day on the stove, right? That could be earth shattering.
Yep. Definitely.
Yes.
You know? And then if you are shy,
exactly.
Right. And both parties are working, right? You know?
Full time outside of the home.
That's it. So then you come to this matter of sex. So some men have never had father figures. They don't have persons who will talk to them about realistic expectations, you know. Again, you take each other for granted. You don't understand what's happening. And we think that, man, it must happen 3 times a day, 7 days a week.
Yes. Unrealistic, right? Because then you need to recuperate.
Yes. That's 4. We have one more to go with you.
Okay, you can go ahead with number 5.
Yeah, so we're ready for number 5. Number 5 is the final one. Of those of you who are watching, we're talking with Pastor Eric and Mistress Patrice Clark, all the way here in Grand Bahama. They are family life directors at the North Bahamas Conference, and they have been sharing with us the top 5 mistakes you don't want to make in your marriage in 2023. So we had our top 4 already, and we're ready for the 5th one. Those of you who are watching, if you have any questions, go ahead. Let us know your takeaways. What point really like hit the spot for you? Put that in the comments for us. I think we have some in there, some people who are commenting. Let us know what those are, right? And we also want to let you know that, hey, right around the corner, February is right here. We have our unique couples rekindle event for couples. So if you're on Grand Bahama, you want to definitely be a part of that. So hashtag rekindle in the comments, in the chat. We'll let you know all about it. And then, of course, go ahead and join us in our How to Strengthen Your Marriage Facebook group. That is our free group. For married couples, you can go there and you'll get more details about our Rekindle Couples event that is coming up in February. So go ahead, hashtag Rekindle, and go and join us in the Facebook group. The link should be in the comments in the description. So go ahead and do that. You had some comments?
Yes, I know there are a lot of great takeaways, and you want to make sure you take your notes, because this here is a lot of great nuggets.
Yes.
A lot of awesome nuggets that we're getting, and you want to do that, because one of the things we didn't mention, or that hasn't been said is that marriage is work. Just like how we go on our jobs every day, 9 to 5 or whatever shift you work on your job, and in your marriage you have to put in that work as well in your marriage. And just like on your job, you get refresher training, you go on certification courses. Well, in marriage, you want to go to marriage seminars, marriage retreats. You want to do these things so you can have a healthy marriage. So you have to put that work in your marriage. And I see we have Marriage Matters.
Yes.
That's here. Thank you for joining us. And they are saying great advice, on target with everything that's being said. So that is Pastor Elvis Burrows and Lady Stephanie Burrows.
Hello. Thanks for joining us. Yes, they said great advice, great advice. Okay, so we're ready for number 5. We're ready for number 5. Okay.
Yeah, the last one and the best. The mistake you don't want to make is letting the romance die. Okay.
Big one.
Yes. And sometimes, at some point you let it fade off, you let it die, you let it go down. The relationship is something that has to be constantly worked on. Just like Vito said just now, you have to work on it, and especially that area. So you have to spend that quality time with one another. And that's how you actually bond. Yeah. You bond by spending quality time together, not in the same room, one on the computer, one with the newspaper, but doing stuff together. If we have different recreational activities, we want to do those together, play games together. That's the quality time. And when we talk and discuss things like our goals, different things, we want to share and talk about our feelings and what those kind of things that will cause and bring intimacy. So you have to spend that quality time. We don't want to, like we in church, you don't want to be in church all the time. You don't want to put your time in the work all the time. You don't want to spend all the time with the children or the grandchildren, but you have to make time for one another. That is key. And we always suggest a date night for once a week. Date night is important.
It is.
Our kids, when they were growing up, we had a family night, and then there was the date night once a week.
Yes.
And so they look forward to their night, and then they knew when our night was.
That's right.
So it is important that you have the date night, and then we
Oh,
have
man.
sex,
Oh, man.
which is the male's number one.
Oh, man.
You
Let
know,
the
if
church
something
roll on.
is wrong with that instrument, the man is almost going
I hear
crazy.
the angels saying amen.
So sex is very important. It's his number one need, like I said. And so you have to make that decision as to when it's gonna happen, how it's gonna happen, how often, where. Communicate your desires. Shouldn't be shy. And then and sometimes the woman needs to initiate. Don't have to be the man all the time. Do some different stuff, spice it up,
Well, I'm flabbergasted. I'm enjoying this. I'm taking in every word. I wish, is this being recorded, please? I want this to be
Every
recorded.
word.
Every single word. She says that the women can take the initiative. Wow. Can you imagine that? She says, say what your desire is. Say what you want. Say how you want. You know what I'm saying? That's incredible, man. This is a new day for women. This is just, and she mentions like how and when and those kinds of things. I think that, in our growing up, especially those who are older, like myself and persons before me, we did not normally see what they call PDA. That's the public display of affection. Sometimes we have to travel to the US and we see the young people, we see everybody holding hands, they kissing, they looking like they will have sex right on the street. Right? We're wondering, like, what's with these folk? But truth be told, there is nothing wrong with public display of affection to an extent, right? Unfortunately for me, I know my parents loved each other. They were married for almost 60 years, right? But I could count the amount of times on one hand that I've seen my mom and dad kiss.
Wow.
Does it mean that they didn't love each other? They did. They just never showed it. Whether that was how they were indoctrinated and they brought up, right? So I'm not going to do the same thing. I see Patrice in church and she won't jump me, right? but be that as it may, right? I'm just saying that, man, we have to show, we cannot let the romance die. That's what this last one is. And that's what she's excited about. That's what I'm excited about. We have to make sure, show it, demonstrate. See, let me tell you, folk, you don't know how long you're going to live,
That's
you don't
true.
know how long before we become incapacitated. And then you live a life of regret. You say, boy, I wish. I shoulda. I wish I coulda. And God help that I die and she decides to get married again and somebody else enjoying Hallelujah Boulevard and all those wonderful things. I believe even if I was in heaven, I was going to come back down. All I'm trying to say is, don't let the romance in your life die, right? God has given you each other. Enjoy God, enjoy the wife of your youth, the Bible says, and enjoy each other every step and stage of the way, right? I had an old preacher, old friend, and he says, boy, I remember when. Every time we talk, I remember when. You know what I'm saying? In other words, he was happy now and he was old and he couldn't do anything else, but he remembered when he could. And his point was, I did what I could when I could have. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
it.
I remember when, So that's the life he lives now. I want to live that life right now. Okay? So I want to keep the romance alive, man.
It does help with your kids and all too when they see your relationship and how you relate to one another. You say I love you, and all of that, it strengthens the family bond, and it even sets that that example for what they wanna do in their relationship as well when they get married.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
So that's important, and we want to just pause there as we just sort of related to these 5. We hope you can try to put a little humor in it, but some of the points are very, very serious, beloved. We see people all the time, they're stressed out. We read somewhere where they said that if you were to hug your spouse every day, maybe 3 times a day, you will not have high blood pressure, you will not be stressed out, you will not have all these other rest of things like that. Whether that's medically correct or whatever it is, just demonstrating genuine love. And I'm not talking about sex now, because men think that love is sex. It isn't, you know. Once you are genuine and you demonstrate that, then we have less stress. All right. And that's key. That's important. So your health is your wealth. And that's a part of the love package. Let's go ahead, build stronger couples, healthier marriages, and healthier families.
Yes,
Awesome.
indeed.
Definitely,
Yes,
definitely.
And
I
they
love
were,
number 5. Yeah.
yes, number 5.
All of number 5. All of number 5.
But you know that 5 points, they were excellent, and you want to make sure that you follow each of them, because we know number 1 is that, you know, they leave God out of their marriage. Number 2 was taking each other for granted. Number 3 was letting an argument destroy your marriage. Number 4 was having unrealistic goals, expectations. Number 5 was letting the romance die, and that's the one that you don't want to do that. But all of them,
these are mistakes.
Yes,
you
all of them
don't
are
wanna
mistakes, and you don't want to make these mistakes in your marriage in 2023 and beyond. So
Yes.
make sure don't make those mistakes in your marriage.
And even if you are making those mistakes, or if you made those already, we're like 16 days, 14 days, and 15.
15 days.
Don't stay stuck there, right? Don't stay stuck there. Yeah, Rowena is saying she liked the Hallelujah Boulevard. Thanks for joining us, Bishop Mark McLean, all the way from Jamaica.
Yes, hello, Bishop Mark McLean. How are you and the family?
Awesome. Great to have you. Angel, what's that? Yeah.
Angle Eyes.
Angle Eyes. Okay. Yes. Awesome.
Hello, Shadra.
So keep the fire going. You definitely want to do that. So these are mistakes you don't want to make, but we also want to let you know there is grace and forgiveness. So even if you have made those mistakes in the past, or you started off 2022 making those mistakes, you don't have to stay stuck there. So we want to ask the Clarks to share with our audience. So what if our couples have made these mistakes? What would you say to them if they have made these mistakes in their marriage as we wrap up?
Well, we want to point out that God is a God of forgiveness. You have to live in that, right? You have to live in the fact that as long as you're alive, God is able and he is willing and he is available to forgive you and I of anything we've ever done. That is key. That's important. All right. The forgiveness of the Lord. By the same token, we have to be able to give forgiveness also. Yes. So we have to treat people the way we want to be treated. That's blase. But there's a real thing in there where if you don't have a spirit of forgiveness, you really don't want a spirit of forgiveness to be exercised to you. And that's why even in the Lord's Prayer, we pray, forgive us as what? We forgive others. So maybe it is that some people shouldn't pray the Lord's Prayer. Be that as it may, though, as we work together, we recognize that prayer changes things. Yeah. And Patrice said it earlier. Instead of us praying to change our spouse, our significant other, we ought to pray that the Lord change us. Yeah. And he is able to do that. And once he does that, then you'll discover that the road to forgiveness, the road to love is even easier than you thought it may have been. Yeah. We can't exercise something where we put people in a straight jacket and say, okay, you have done me wrong, so I'm going to make sure I count everything that you do from here on in, right? No, God doesn't deal with us like that. That's why when he says forgive, and Peter says, boy, 70 times 7, man, who can be counting? 490? You know, so that's what he's saying. No, not counting every time a person does wrong, but realizing that you give them the benefit of the doubt, you demonstrate love to them, and Christ will love us as we love them.
Another point is, to marriage, like you said, is something that you always have to work on. It's the school from which you'll never graduate. And so you always have to be studying one another. So there are books, good books that you can read to enrich your marriage. There are enrichment seminars. There's different couple programs. And so if we engage in some of these things, that helps a lot. And if that doesn't work, there are marriage counselors that are available that can help you to go through some of these things and be the mediator to work your situation out.
Thank you.
Yes.
Definitely. And I like that because, like we said, we have our Unique Couples Rekindle event coming up, and Pastor Clark said it, I believe. We said that in number 5, where we are, and Patrice said it, where we are constantly dating and making dating a priority. And sometimes we do that individually, and sometimes we do that in groups with other people, and then we get the enrichment as well. So those of you who are on Grand Bahama, go ahead and join us for our Unique Couples Rekindle event for couples, where you can definitely learn more about connecting with each other, because it's you can never do it too much, you know. Never do it too much, where you get closer to your spouse. And so that is something that we promote. So go ahead, join us in the How to Strengthen Your Marriage Facebook group, and you'll learn more about our Rekindle live in-person event as the days go by. Yes.
Yeah. So Pastor Clark, can you go ahead and tell our viewing audience how they can connect with you guys on social media as we bring our program to a close?
Thank you for the opportunity. I do have a phone contact, and I'll put that in the chat also. That's 242-826-4248. You'll be able to get myself, and I'll be able to reach Patrice for you. Most times she would be in her clinics because she's a nurse, especially during the day. In the nights, she'd be available. We are on social media through Facebook and Instagram, and that would just be Eric Clarke. And sometimes her handle is Pretty P, for Patrice. And I just love that handle, and my keyword for her is sweetie. And I'm not jealous. I think everybody should call her sweetie, But we're on Facebook. We're on most of the media through our names, Eric Clarke and Patrice Clark. Thank you so much for the privilege. Thank you for putting the contact there too.
Yes, awesome. We just want to say a special thank you to both of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on and speak with the Unique Couples community this evening. We had a lot of takeaways that went into the chat. We had a lot of comments. So we just want to thank our viewing audience as well for tuning in.
Hello, Sister Ira.
And we all had a great time this evening. Also want to give a special shout out goes to Unique Couples sponsors and supporters. Hair to Please, The Nail Creation by Anna, Party with Serenity, Style Me Pretty. Also, we have Build Your Best Life with Deborah D. Smith, Total Grace Solutions with Thaddeus and Amanda Randolph, Candylicious K4 Podcast. So we want to thank all of our sponsors and supporters.
Definitely. So go ahead, join us in our Facebook group. Join us in our Facebook group. How to Strengthen Your Marriage. Go there. It's free. And we have a lot of resources and couples in there sharing and just connecting. And so go in there. You can also, when you do go, register to receive our free 7 days of Loving Your Spouse tracker. It doesn't just tell you, well, whether you did it or not, but it also helps and give you ideas that you can implement for 7 days. And then guess what? Go ahead and repeat those things as well. So go ahead and join us in the group. You'll hear more about our Rekindle Couples event coming this February. And so if you ever felt like you and your spouse needed an extra drip of love and romance and connection, or you just want to have fun together, then this event is for you. Hashtag Rekindle, message us, go in the group, and you'll hear more about it. It is going to be an in-person event. And unfortunately, we only have a limited spots available, but go ahead and connect with us there. We love you all, and don't make those mistakes. But if you do and did make those mistakes, know that you can forgive each other and move on from it.
Yes. Once again, we want to say thank you to Pastor Eric and Sister Patrice Clark for an awesome time we had here at Unique Couples Sunday Night Live. Here at Unique Couples, we are building stronger couples, healthier marriages, and happier families. We love you guys. Have a great evening. Enjoy the week. Bye.